Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, this is Klevit, and I'm the host of the Systems Simplified podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders about systematizing your business. And this episode today is brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group. At Business Success Consulting Group, we document processes and procedures and create tailor-made management systems for businesses so they can grow and scale and also have a succession plan. So visit us at bizsuccesscg.com. All right, and today I'm very happy to introduce our special guest, Gary, the CEO and founder of Whale. And Whale is a software where that allows you to document processes and procedures. So it is super appropriate that you're here. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Addie. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. So give us a little bit about Whale and introduction of who you are.
Okay, perfect. So as you mentioned, Whale is a software platform that allows businesses to centralize their processes and procedures, and at the same time share with their team. So you can onboard new hires easier, you can train your staff, and you can create more scalability across your operations. And Whale goes back not so far back. So we've been around for about 2 years and a half now, I think. And Whale actually came to be from my previous experience as the founder of an IT company. And we struggled, like a lot of other companies, with breaking through that ceiling at a certain point. We hit 20 people and we were trying to grow even further, but we felt like there was something blocking us. And so we turned to like solutions like EOS, eMyth, and all that stuff that helps companies actually scale their business. And an important component there is having a system in place, something that helps you be consistent in what you do, make sure that you can create scalability and just making it easier to grow. And so we felt there wasn't a very good solution out there, a good software solution out there to help with that specific challenge. So that's why we started Whale. And we've been helping companies around the world with systemizing their business.
Absolutely, yes. And you've been growing. I've been observing that, and that's amazing. So tell us some of the companies, you don't need to name them, but some of the industries that you work with.
Sure. So the great thing about systemizing, about documenting your processes, training your team, and just growing your business is that it's very industry agnostic. So we have companies across a lot of different industries, ranging from, the ones that really started with systemizing, franchise companies, because they are really into creating scalability and something that is repeatable. But we've seen a lot of companies come in from the marketing industry, companies that are in the trucking industry, actually all over the place. So it's been an interesting journey to explore how we can help different companies in different industries, building systems, documenting processes, and just helping with growth.
Absolutely. Well, we systematize businesses. We write the processes and then we use a platform like Whale. And I agree 100% with it's industry agnostic. You can systematize any industry. It's just a matter of the particulars it's different because that's where we work with the stakeholders, right? So they can document it. But then when you use like a system like Whale, so you basically can use the same principles of creating the overall process, creating the sub-processes, and I know you have your own terminology. So this is actually a great time to invite our listeners to go to the website and create a free account so they can see what we're talking about. So if they want to look you up, don't go to whale.com. That's not where it's at. So tell us your website.
No, unfortunately, whale.com was taken. So we settled for usewhale.io. So usewhale.io, you can try it out for free. And coming back to what you ask, the type of companies. And so when we started Whale, we figured that actually the bigger companies would focus on systemizing. But the reality is that we have a lot of smaller companies coming to us that have 10 to 15 employees, and they really get, and that's something I really try to advocate, is the sooner you begin with documenting your processes, the sooner you begin with building systems, the easier it becomes to grow. And so don't wait until you're 100 staff, because it gets more difficult. You'll have more stuff to document, you'll have more ground to cover. And if you start small, it just helps on so many aspects.
I agree, because from what I've seen, it also helps you obviously maintain your profitability. Because let's say you have a smaller company, small on the smaller side, let's say you have 20, 25 employees, you do want to grow, but you obviously want to scale, meaning you don't just want to grow, you want to scale up. So you want to expand your operations, but you want to still maintain your profitability. And in order to do that, you can cover more ground by doing things more efficiently. And that's where a system like Whale comes into play, because you have your processes documented, it's easily accessible by everyone, and then you can expand.
Exactly. And it works on so many levels. It's about profitability, but it's also about maintaining good customer experiences, making sure that your customers are experiencing your product or your service the same way, the best way, the way you like it for them to experience. It's about making sure that people who you just hired feel comfortable in their role, because they know what to expect. They know what you expect them to be doing in their specific job. So there's no downside to documenting. There's no downside to creating systems. And one of the biggest benefits I saw, and it was kind of a hidden benefit at first, it was about gaining back time. And so a big objection I got and still get from business owners is, okay, Gary, I understand the value, but this takes time, right? I need to put in a lot of time and create that documentation. And I say that's true. There's no magic wand that just documents it all for you, unless you work with a business like Addy, which is obviously a huge time saver. But as soon as you begin, you actually start winning back time, because it makes it much easier to delegate. And so in my previous experience as a business owner, at a certain point, I felt all I was doing is run around putting out fires, because I felt I was the only one that knew how certain aspects of the business were, how they were, you needed to do them. So I was losing a lot of time that actually other people could have solved if at least I have documented those stuff and not kept them in my head. So
that's an excellent point. And, and I can tell you, it's good that you're mentioning it, because even when they work with us, they still need to invest time. And in my onboarding process, when I interview a prospective client, I want to make sure that they have that resource of time to invest, because it does take, the knowledge has to come from the client, right? But I say the same thing. You're going to win the time very fast, because you and your team are going to get used to thinking in systems, get used to process something. So an example will be, a client that we're working with that is actually using the platform. Their billing system, how they bill clients, they used to use so much time. They spend so much time every month reinventing the wheel on how to bill their clients. Now they systematize it. They create the cards. They created a system. It's on Whale, so people can access it. They can get there. They can see how it works. And it's very easy to use. So now that time, basically the time got contracted probably from like 3 hours to half an hour, right? So it's 2.5 hours that you get back. Now, if you multiply it, like let's say you have 4 people doing it, you take 4 times 2.5, that's 10 hours that you are gaining, which is a lot. And you can monetize it. It's not just monetizing how much you're spending an hour, it's also monetizing it in terms of like what that time can be used for in order to bring more business, better customer service, etc. So
yeah, definitely. And the time you want back is time that you can spend, as you mentioned, on just improving the business. And that's something we saw as well. And there's this funny thing that happens when you start documenting. As long as the way you're doing things remains in your head, it's this very abstract thing that you can't really look at. And as soon as you document it, it becomes clear. And I get a lot of customers that come back to me and they say, Gary, we started documenting our processes, and once they were written out, we figured out this was not the right way to do things. And because it's in front of them, they create that mental space to really look at what they're doing, and they can start improving. And I think that's where it's get really interesting is don't just document and leave it as it is. Use that as a stepping stone to improving different aspects of the business. And yeah, you're in an infinite loop of improvement, which helps again with growing, with scalability, with becoming more efficient.
couldn't agree more. We're on the same page. It's kind of like preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that is so true. Document your the existing state, and then look at your ideal state. Then you can get to the ideal state because you will be able to go, oh, why am I doing this and this and this? What about if we flip it and change it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that works. Now I'm more efficient.
Yeah, and it allows you to involve your subject matter experts, because you don't have all the answers, right? You're not the only person that knows every single aspect of the business. And so involving people in the process of documenting, reviewing, and improving just creates a culture of collaboration in your company. It creates a culture of trust, because if you involve them, you get their buy-in, right? They are the ones that actually said, yeah, this is the perfect process. This is how we need to do things. So it's much easier to get them along. And so at Whale, we try to focus on elements in which you can bring in your team, let them help out, and create the best versions of your processes together instead of just relying on one person.
I love it. That's great. And one of the things I like about Whale is that you can use different methods to communicate, to document, right? I mean, you can embed videos, you can use different color fonts, you can help me out, Gary. What else can you links, right? You can.
Yeah, I think we're supporting pretty much any media today. And so the thing is that when you think about business manuals or playbooks or process documentation, you think about those physical binders with 700 pages that nobody wants to look at. That's just not what it is anymore today. It's interactive, it's engaging. You can add whatever, as you mentioned, video, images, you can have dynamic content, you can have whatever you feel will help your team understand how you want things done. So it doesn't need to be boring. It can be engaging, it can be fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you have to try it for yourself. So we're going to add the link for you to sign up, and the website where you can sign up for the free trial and really check it out, and you can see the difference. This is not just writing something on a Word document and putting it in folder somewhere that nobody is going to look at, and it's not going to get revised or reviewed, or something that is not as, it's not, I mean, of course, we all work with that in the past, years ago. But as Gary mentioned, we printed it, we had training manuals, we had manuals on the shelf, but this is an interactive, alive, in terms of, getting the video, putting the videos there, and the audios, the screenshots, there is no comparison. So I definitely encourage our listeners to go and check it out.
Yeah, and I often joke that we've substituted the physical binder for the virtual binder in your Google Drive or OneDrive. And I often say that people document their processes and they save it in either Google or OneDrive, and they actually go there to die because nobody looks at them. It's just sitting there and not being referenced, not being used. And that's something that we really wanted to change. We didn't want to create yet another silo where all this information just sits, but we really wanted to be activated, and not only when you're onboarding a new hire, but also for retraining your staff when your processes change, and at the same time have easy accessibility at any time when people forget about how things are done, because maybe they're not doing it daily, maybe they're not doing it weekly, and so they want a quick way to look back at how are we doing this again. That's where the real value comes in, right? That's when people actually engage with what you've documented. That's when you're getting a return on your investment.
Absolutely. And, and I also noticed, obviously in the last year, this will be a timeless podcast, but we are now in 2021. And, the work world have changed in terms of more people working from home. And even though people are going back to work, there are some companies that made a decision of changing or maybe having a hybrid of going in person and also allowing some teams to work from home. And from my experience, a tool like Whale is very beneficial for that environment. That's why we were talking about smaller businesses even have to document. And that's why a solution like Whale that is affordable for smaller businesses, it's something that can save a lot in terms of even the investment compared to what you're going to save and having all your teams on the same page. It's amazing, right? I mean, you've probably seen it as well.
Well, definitely, and obviously we use it ourselves. So we're still a very small team, but we decided to hire for people entirely remotely. So we have people across the world working for and with us. We've never seen them face to face, and we probably never will. Well, at least not all of them. And so to truly make sure that people understand how your business is run, you need some sort of central place where they can go to, where they can find information, where you can train them from. So definitely with everything that has happened the last 12 to 13 months already, this has become more important, because previously you could have them face to face, you could explain all this stuff through a PowerPoint, which is still not great, but you could do so anyways. And you don't want to onboard and train people on a Zoom call. That's definitely not something I would advise you to do. So with everything is going on, this is definitely something that we feel becomes more and more important.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, in closing, I'd like to ask you my closing question of who or what inspires you?
Well, that's a good question, and I kind of revealed maybe a part of that question in the beginning. So a lot of the inspiration for Whale came from Gino Wickman, who wrote the Traction book and who has a lot to do, obviously, with the EOS framework, and Michael Gerber, who wrote eMyth. And both of these books talk about systemizing. They talk about documenting your processes, creating scalability, making sure that you have something repeatable that you can build your business on. And so I read all of those books, and I ask everyone that joins the team to read them, because they truly understand the philosophy of Whale. And so they've been a great source of inspiration. We've worked with a lot of companies that run on EOS and that have been following eMyth. So that would be my answer.
That's great. Totally inspires me as well. And, those books those authors, the books that inspire people to systematize, definitely an inspiration. So yeah. Great. Well, thank you, Gary, for being a guest on our podcast here, and you gave us such valuable information. And again, one more time, the website is
it's usewhale.io, or just Google it. Just Google use Whale, and you'll end up on our website as well.
That's right. So definitely encourage you to encourage our listeners to go and create that. At least try it for a free trial for 14 days. You're going to love it. So it's great. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see everyone next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.